We are seeing the first images of the man mistakenly deported to that notorious prison in El Salvador. Senator Chris Van Hollen posting this photo of his conversation with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, whose case has become a flashpoint of the president's immigration crackdown. That meeting coming hours after the senator said he had been blocked, turned away from the mega prison where Abrego Garcia has been held. All of this happening as an appeals court sided with the federal judge trying to facilitate his return, blasting the deportations, and the White House writing, "This should be shocking not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear." Joining us now, NBC News White House correspondent Vaughn Hilliard, Capitol Hill correspondent Melanie Zanona, Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Dilanian, and criminal defense attorney and NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos. Melanie, Senator Van Hollen had said earlier that he had been denied access to that prison where Kilmar Abrego Garcia was being held. So what changed, and what do we know about his meeting?
Yeah, Anna, there are still a lot of unanswered questions here. We do not know how this meeting came about. We don't know what the two talked about. We don't know Abrego Garcia's condition. And interestingly, we first learned of this meeting from President Bukele of El Salvador, who first posted pictures of this meeting on social media, along with the caption, "Kilmar Abrego Garcia, miraculously risen from the, quote, death camps and, quote, torture, now sipping margaritas with Senator Van Hollen in the tropical paradise of El Salvador." And then a little bit later, he followed it up with another post saying, now that he's been confirmed healthy, he gets the honor of staying in El Salvador's custody. Again, this is the only narrative we are really hearing. We have not heard Senator Van Hollen's side of the story, but it would seem that President Bukele is trying to present a counter narrative to the concerns from Democrats that he is being treated unwell or that this is a dangerous prison, and that he's trying to justify keeping him in his custody. Chris Van Hollen himself said that he is looking forward to providing an update upon his return, but he did say that he achieved at least one of his missions, which was getting some proof of life and being able to talk to Abrego Garcia, confirming that he is indeed alive. So we're waiting anxiously to hear what else Chris Van Hollen has to say here, Anna.
Yeah, I know you are working to get answers. So many questions, obviously, about these images that we're seeing. Where were the images taken? What kind of condition is he in? Where did he get the clothes that he's wearing? I mean, there are just a myriad of questions. Vaughn, the administration had previously admitted that this deportation was a mistake, but now they appear to be changing their tune. Is the White House concerned that this case could be hurting them politically on the immigration issue?
Absolutely here. Well, you have the Democratic senator from Maryland, as well as other Democrats fighting for what they say are answers in the Abrego Garcia case, in what is frankly scant in details in the public record that has gone before the court as to his affiliation with MS-13 and the legal status that he holds in the state of Maryland. This, for the administration, has been a PR campaign, effectively, to make the case that this is a promised effort by this administration to deport undocumented individuals, including those who have been alleged to be gang members. And in this case, the administration has not stepped away from the argument that an immigration judge at one point found with good reason in their filings that he was a member of MS-13. But of course, he was let onto the streets. There was the order for deportation that was withdrawn. And that is where you hear the likes of Stephen Miller. You hear Tom Homan continually making the case that individuals like him effectively are not owed the same due process as other individuals if they are not in the country legally. I want to let you take a listen to both of those men.
I don't think we did anything wrong. According to his written order, I think we did everything by the numbers. Everybody wants to be concerned about the vetting of people that even be deported. I mean, it seems like a one-side show, but I stand by the fact that I think things were done right with his case.
You have the entire machinery of the Democrat Party using all of its power to bring this illegal alien with all those horrific crimes and allegations and history against him back to the United States, where he can do what? He can commit additional acts that threaten the safety of the American people.
And overnight, the White House's social media account on X posting two images, one of Van Hollen with Abrego Garcia, And then another photo of the President of the United States 2 days ago with the mother of Rachel Morin, who was murdered in 2023 by an immigrant, trying to draw that contrast as to who the administration is fighting for. Of course, so much of this is about the due process, in which individuals who are in the United States are owed a judicial review process before being deported here. But the administration looking at the broader argument that this White House is fighting for individuals as opposed to those who have entered the country at one point or other illegally.
I do want to remind our viewers, as we had listened to Jason Miller talk about him coming in and doing dangerous things. I mean, he hasn't been charged with a crime. He has no criminal record. He's never been convicted of a crime here in the U.S. And there was that order to withhold deportation that an immigration judge had issued many years ago in 2019. And he's been living in the U.S. now, we know, for over a decade. Melanie Zanona and Vaughn Hilliard, thank you both. Ken, the administration keeps trying to fight back in the courts, or at least delay taking action. Tell us more about this new appeals court ruling.
Yeah, Anna, good morning. This Fourth Circuit opinion was a total repudiation of the Trump administration's approach to this case and to its approach to the judicial system in general. And the author, Judge Harvey Wilkinson, is not a leftist. He was appointed to the bench by President Ronald Reagan, and he was considered for a Supreme Court position by George W. Bush. And here's some of what he had to say. I want folks to hear it in full. He said, "It's difficult in some cases to get to the very heart of the matter. But in this case, it's not hard at all. The government is asserting a right to stash away residents of this country in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation of our constitutional order." And the judge went on to say, further, it claims in essence that because it has rid itself of custody, there's nothing that can be done. This should be shocking, he wrote, not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. And he went on to sort of use this case as an argument against the Trump administration's approach to judges in general and to calls for impeachment of judges whose rulings they don't like, and to raise the specter that this is really undermining the rule of law. Anna.
Danny, what does that decision, again, penned by a Reagan-appointed judge, tell you? Was it meant to be a warning?
Ken is exactly right. And here's what's happening procedurally. The Supreme Court has sent this down to the district court, and the Trump administration is saying to the Circuit Court of Appeals, hey, help us out. We don't like this district court directive to provide this information. And I got to tell you, in reading this 7-page opinion, it's as if the appeals court is saying, you're coming to us for help? We don't like anything you're doing. You came to the wrong place. And I think this may end up hurting the Trump administration because, as Ken can tell you, within that decision, they also added some other interpretation of words like facilitate. Remember, the government has to facilitate Garcia's return. And almost gratuitously, the Fourth Circuit said, hey, here's what we think facilitate means. Not for nothing, as they say in New Jersey. This is what we think that word means and what we think you should be doing. I don't think they really needed to do that. They could have just said, hey, a request for emergency help from us, denied. Go back down there to the district court and let this play out. But instead, they went on for about 7 pages describing all the reasons why they think the administration, they meaning the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, why the court believes that the Trump administration is not doing this right. And I think this emergency appeal may come back to haunt them because it further fleshes out these words like facilitate return that I can see the district court using in its own final decision.
I mean, Danny, is there any evidence that this administration is acting in good faith?
Here's the thing. That's a really difficult question. But something I thought was very telling by one of the courts this week was the statement that, look, we all disagree with court orders. In fact, I believe it's in this decision as well. Litigants, they disagree with court orders. But there's a huge difference between defying a court order and criticizing it or appealing it or saying it's not a good decision or even complaining about the judges, as Trump is wont to do. But defying court orders, you have to follow a court order, even one that is ultimately struck down or deemed unconstitutional. You have to follow that order until a court says it is no longer an order.
Ken, we're also learning that there are concerns about more deportation flights and potentially soon the ACLU is getting involved. What more can you tell us about this?
Yeah, that's right. Our reporting is that the ACLU has filed under seal requests for a temporary restraining order overnight because they're concerned that there are a number of Venezuelan migrants who have been taken to a facility in Bluebonnet, Texas, an ICE, a DHS facility, and they believe that the Trump administration intends to deport those people under the Alien Enemies Act. And remember, the Supreme Court is allowing the Trump administration to do that as long as they give the detainees some modicum of due process. And so the ACLU is going to court to try to stop this, or at least get a judge to intervene to make sure all the rules are followed on.